20 years after the release of the third and final entry of the Holy Trilogy, we've finally been graced with the glorious return of the Timesplitters franchise. Though, just for clarification, this is a fan-made project, not an official release. Unfortunately, an official release was in the works by many of the original developers, but it was cancelled in 2023, which felt like the final nail in the coffin for Timesplitters. 2 years later, Timesplitters Rewind has now released into early access, giving fans something to actually sink their teeth into, despite not having the full package yet. The early access gives you a lot of content off the bat, including the full TS1 story mode plus co-op, 32 challenges, 28 maps, 20 game modes that can be played online with players or offline with bots, just like the good old days, and 96 of the classic characters, along with 41 weapons, all updated and slick. Fellas, it's here, and it started off with a blast. The agonizing development to get here is thankfully documented on their website. I'm very grateful for this, because not many people would understand just how monumental this task was, especially with the many external factors that made the project unnecessarily more difficult for the team. You might be wondering why the return of Timesplitters is such a big deal. Well, for one, it's a dormant franchise that was trapped within the 6th generation of consoles, only accessible through emulation, despite being the perfect candidate for the HD Trilogy treatment. Secondly, Timesplitters 2 in particular is one of the highest rated FPS games of all time. To not at least be ported to modern consoles and PC natively and preserved for the future, it's mind-boggling. Yes, recently the trilogy has become accessible to emulate through the PS5's classic catalog, and it plays very well. However, it's still not a native port, so it's not perfect. This series deserves to be touched up with HD visuals and ported to every device that can handle it. But for now, we have the next best thing. Timesplitters Rewind, a passion project by fans that seeks to bring all 3 games back into one neat little package. Remade visuals, mountains of content, and much needed convenience. There's still a lot of work to be done, but let's focus on what's here now in early access. The first thing that I was pleasantly surprised by was how well this game translated to PC. The original games were built for console controllers, so the difficulty of precise aim, particularly in the first 2 games, were accounted for by everything else. My worry was that the precision of keyboard and mouse would destroy the original game's difficulty. Thankfully, I was wrong. However, because I had a certain level of mastery of Timesplitters 2's awful aiming back then, I decided that for Rewind, I'd turn off the crosshair to echo some of that classic challenge. You could still right-click on the mouse to bring up the precision crosshair, so this was a nice compromise for me. Despite the simplicity of Timesplitters 1's story mode, a basic formula of collect item while killing everyone in your way, with very little context as to why you're in these many different time periods, the newly added animations, the feedback from shooting folks, the blood, the ragdolls, they all make for one hell of an improvement over the original. I don't know the extent of what they did to improve the mechanics, but whatever they did, it feels as pleasing to play as it does to look at. The updated visuals do a fantastic job at making each level/time period feel even more distinct, stretching from ancient tombs in the 1930s to sci-fi battles on other planets in the 2020s. I'm very impressed at how they were able to maintain the spirit and feel of Timesplitters with this brand new look. I can't wait to see what they do with Timesplitters 2's story mode. It ain't all looks though. The audio has been another standout. You see, Timesplitters came from an era of gaming where great attention was given to creating unique audio design in all aspects of the game. Whether it be sound effects in the UI or distinct character and weapon sounds, everything feels like it could only be traced to Timesplitters.
First kill! That's gonna hurt!
To draw a comparison, look at Metal Gear Solid. Ask yourself, what would that game be without the memorable sound effects? It brings so much more personality than people realize. For presumably copyright reasons, no sounds or tracks can be reused from the old games in this fan remake. They had to create new sound effects from the ground up. Now this could have made it or broke it, but I'm happy to say that they nailed it. The sounds are pretty close to what they used to be, but just different enough. And they had their own composer to make new renditions of the old soundtracks. I'm so glad for this, because Timesplitters soundtracks are a different breed. Every level has a recognizable track that perfectly encapsulates the level/time period it represents. And a lot of these themes are so excellent that they could have been the main theme in any other game, and it would be up there with the greats. But because they're so level specific, it adds a lot of flavor to each mission and multiplayer map. It's funny, I wanted an excuse to talk about Timesplitters back when I recently replayed the trilogy, but I guess I just never got around to doing it. So this was the perfect opportunity to not only gush about one of the most underrated FPS franchises of all time, but also celebrate something new and fan-made. The concept of every level being a different era of time is still fresh to this day, so I'd have no reservations about recommending Timesplitters Rewind to new players. But I would recommend maybe waiting until 1.0, just so you can experience everything this franchise had to offer back then. For players who did play Timesplitters, whether casually or religiously, I implore you to support this team with everything you got, because this is the best we're gonna get. Timesplitters is a dead franchise, at least in an official capacity. The one chance we had at getting a new entry was snuffed out because of budget cuts. Now there is a small chance that Rewind will draw the eyes of the bigwigs, proving just how valuable this franchise is. But I'm not holding out for that. For now, we should relish in the fact that over 200 contributors over a span of a decade gave us something that the license holders refused to do. Timesplitters Rewind is out in early access right now. The link is in the description. And if any current or ex-developers from the Rewind team is watching this, thank you so much for this amazing gift.